Okay, the good tips presentation, this is actually the third phase of the competition. Basically, we wanted to get together with everyone to give you further details on the competition, especially for those who have not entered before. And any questions that you have, please feel free to ask us during our presentations. Okay? Following this phase, there is what we call the judging room. This is where actually the competition officially begins, because you will be presented in front of a panel of judges. Okay? Those of you who advance to the final is due to begin on January 14, 2016. Right? I will now outline some of the rules of the I-Squared competition. Alright, as you know, schools entering in this competition should consist of no more than 5 persons in the group. Well, when I was processing the registration forms, I realized that not every student had a Twitter account. One of the rules of this year's competition is that you should have an individual Twitter account and not just the group account. So, for those of you who haven't submitted, we would like for you to do so as soon as possible. The mentors as well, we would like for you to create one if you haven't done so. Okay? So it is mandatory that you have a Twitter account. This Twitter account is basically to keep you up to date of the events and any important details that we think you should be aware of. Okay? When you're carrying out your research, you have to ensure that you visit a public service department. And when I say public service, I mean the various government departments and ministries. It can also be statutory bodies such as CWSA or state-owned agencies such as VINLEC, right? You must visit those departments in order to conduct a proper research. Also, you have to display keen understanding of the particular department that you have visited. Okay? Well, I don't think there's any offshore students here today, but for offshore participants who make it to the finals, they will be allowed 1 day to travel to the mainland to visit the government ministry to which their IDEA or mobile application applies to conduct their research. The NTRC will cover all expenses. Okay? Persons are not allowed to create mobile applications or ideas for something not related to the government services. Therefore, both the ideas and mobile applications should be directly related to services offered by government departments, state agencies, and statutory bodies, which I just mentioned. Okay? Persons who enter the competition, you may have noticed that none of your ideas or mobile apps have been implemented as yet. I just would like to inform you the reason why this has not been done as yet. Okay, it is the government policy to use funds provided by the Universal Service Fund. However, before we get these funds, the Universal Service Regulation has to be revised. It is anticipated that this regulation will be revised by year end. So hopefully by next year, some of your great ideas and mobile application can be implemented within the public service sector. Okay? All participants are required to use only the equipment provided by the NTRC. Participants will not be permitted at any point in the competition to use their own equipment. However, if participants require specialized equipment, which the NTRC does not have, then participants will be allowed to use their own equipment, but must set up, it must be done in advance the day before. Okay? All visual aids used in the form of PowerPoints, etc., it should be submitted 9 a.m. on the morning, as I just mentioned, the day before the event. Teams who fail to do this will not be allowed to participate in the competition. The judge's decision is final. Participants shall bear all costs associated with participating in the competition and also with the claiming and collecting of prizes from the organizers. When you get to the finals, the top 3, well, for the past 2 years, the top 3 groups in each category, they would have been awarded prizes from the telecom providers such as Digicel, Cable and Wireless, and Carib Cable. So those are the prices that we're speaking specifically about with that rule. You will have to bear all costs associated with collecting those prizes. For those of you who are doing the mobile application projects, it should be noted that the mobile application should be submitted for use on the following platforms: the iOS, Windows Phone, Android, BlackBerry, or any platform for mobile, such as phones, tablets, and wearable. Mobile apps that work on tablets are also eligible for the competition. Okay. Most of you know that the competition is broken down into the IDEA and the mobile application category. If you preparing a project for the mobile application and you get to the finals, you have to present a prototype in the finals. But for the judging phase, you don't require to do that. Okay. The judging phase, everyone got a schedule of the competition so far? No? Okay. Alright, I will now outline the judging procedure. For the past 2 years, the first competition, what we did is we actually zoned all schools. Well, we did them according to zones. We had Zone A, which is all the Kingston schools. Zone B, Wynwood schools. Zone C, the Leeward and the Grundy schools. However, this year we will be doing it a little bit differently. So we are selecting the top 5 groups from each category for both the secondary level and also the tertiary level. Okay, I think we have received over 18 groups from the secondary schools. Okay. And we have received 19 groups from the tertiary schools. So there are 37 groups in the competition this year. So top 5 in each category. So you have to ensure you do your best so that you can get to the finals. So in total, there will be 20 groups advancing to the finals. 20 groups including the secondary level and the tertiary level. So out of the 37 groups, 20 groups will advance. Combination of both secondary and tertiary. Okay, I will now go through the procedure for judging. Each group will have 7 minutes to present. A buzzer will signal the beginning of the presentation. After 5 minutes has passed, another buzzer will be sung. When the 7 minutes is up, 2 buzzers will be sung. If the group is not yet finished after the 7 minutes has elapsed, they will be allowed to continue. However, at the 8 minutes mark, 3 buzzers will be sung to alert the group that they have to stop their presentation. You should ensure that you don't go over the 8 minute time frame, but stick within your 7 minutes time frame. Okay, after you've made your presentation, this is a very important aspect. You will be presenting in front of a panel of judges. There are 5 judges each for the secondary level and as well as the tertiary level. So this is why Mr. Hazel will assist you today with regards to your presentation. As I said, try to stick within the time frame for both presentation and the round of questioning. I will just outline the prices once more. Everyone here aware of the prices? No. Okay. Let me just go through them with you. Okay, if you're in the mobile application group, the top 3 positions, first position will get $3,500, along with smartphones from Digicel and $1,000 compliment fanfare events. Okay, so let's say 4 of you guys are in a group. Your $3,500 will be split equally between you guys, and each of you will get your smartphone. Okay? Your $1,000 will split equally as well. All right. The second place position, you will get $2,500, and the third place position will get $1,500. Okay. with regards to the innovations category, which is the idea category, the cash prices is a little bit small compared to the mobile app, because the mobile app is it demands a lot of work, right? So that is why they're being awarded higher prices. So the first place position for the idea category will get $2,000 along with phones from Line. Second place, $1,500. Third place, $1,000. As I said, 5 groups from each category will be in the finals. For those 2 groups that don't place, as in come first, second, and third, you will also be entitled to $500 each. So at the end of the day, no one loses, really. You get something at the end. Once you get to the finals, each person, as I said, at the end of the day, you walk away with something once you get to the finals. Okay? The school with the most number of entries will get $1,000. Okay? I think for the past 2 years, St. Martin has walked away with this prize. This year, they will not be participating. And the mentors, we can't forget about you as well. So mentors will get prizes ranging from $500 to $700. Okay, when you walked in here, I gave you a sheet of paper. Did you guys get to see this? For those of you who participated in the past competition, you got to see this last night? Yes. Okay. So this is what the judges will be using to assess you while you make your presentation. I know that it says idea to the top of the page, but for the judging phase of the competition, this sheet will be used for both idea and mobile application. However, the mobile application groups, when you get to the finals, there will be a different sheet, because as I said, once you get to the finals, you have to show a prototype to the judges, right? So you will get a different sheet. I want you to carefully read through all these criteria. When you creating your project, please ensure that all of these criteria are fitted within your project. If you follow these, then you stand a better chance of advancing throughout the competition. Right? So just bear in mind when you're doing these. I just want to encourage each and every one of you to do the best you can, and just be the best you can. All right, I will now hand you over to Mr. Ryan Hazel. Sorry.
In relation to the preliminary judging phase, I think this group is on the 16th, right? That's on Monday. And you're saying presentations have to be submitted the day before?
Sorry. Regarding the presentations to be submitted, I was speaking about the finals.
Only the finals?
Only the finals.
Thank you.
Sorry I didn't make it that much clearer. Are there any more questions?
You said there were 18 applicants from secondary and 19 from tertiary.
Yes,
Could you
groups.
break down as to how many registered in ID and how many
Sure.
registered in ID?
Okay, so currently we have 7 groups for the idea category, for the secondary level, and we have 11 groups for the mobile application category. So the mobile application category is very competitive there. You may also compete against each other. If you're from the same school, you will be competing against each other. All right? I know you're not from the tertiary schools, but just to give you a little bit breakdown as well, we have received 9 groups that will be participating in the idea category, and again, but mobile app 10. So the mobile application category, that is where the competition is really heating up in that area. Well, it's just one more, but yeah. Any further questions? No? Okay, so I will now hand you over to Mr. Ryan Hazel.
Good afternoon, everyone. You guys can hear me in the back, right? Did you know? Did you know that over 30 million presentations are made around the world daily? No. How often have you been listening to oral presentations that dealt with interesting topics?
Never.
While you nevertheless found it difficult to pay attention right till the end? All of us can relate to that, right?
Yes.
How often did you lose your interest before the speaker got to the end, or even come halfway? Was it because of the subject?
Yeah.
Or was it because the way it was presented? So we can all agree that the presenter or the presenters are the one that make the presentations effective. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. So today, this is a typical layout for presentations, more so scientific presentations. And we know it could become monotonous. But I'm here to let you know how, I'll give you some tips on how to make your presentation successful and effective. All right? Yes? Yeah. Now, we said that sitting through a long, boring presentation that no one wants to listen to is a torture. Somebody said this one. The much worse scenario is that you're the one giving the presentation that nobody likes. I know we are going to come up with innovative ideas and apps, so it isn't going to be boring at all. The judges are going to be having a field day. But you have to ensure that you cover your presentation skills. Make sense? Yes. All right. Sometimes we use passive language. We see number 1 and 2 are passive language, while 3 and 4 are more active language. Do you see the difference there? From this figure, it was deduced that such and such is the case. While an more active language is that you're giving subjectivity to the figure. This figure implies that. So you wouldn't lose your audience, even the judges along the way. All right? So you see the difference between passive and activeness there. Yes? No? 1 and 2 is passive language. 3 and 4 are active language. All right? So you have to watch your language. All right? I hope I didn't lose you there. All right, this is some people mumbling. All right, so these are some things you have to avoid, and don't take things. Somebody had their hand up.
Which one should we use, passive or active?
Active language. You should try to avoid using passive language because you're going to lose your audience along the way. So active language is the order of the day. Does that make sense? Yes. All right. Sometimes, as presenters, we live in our own little world of research where we take the audience for granted that they know exactly what you're talking about. That's not the case. You have to use a language that is down to earth. Every person can understand. All right? Don't complicate it. Keep your presentation simple. All right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So, avoid long, complicated sentences. Avoid using unnecessary jargons. Sometimes we use abbreviations in our presentations. Those are things you'd want to avoid doing. Difficult words. Sometimes we use hyperlooted words that sometimes we have to send your judges in a dictionary. You wouldn't want to do that, all right? So keep your language simple, keep it passive, and have fun with it, all right? Active. At least you're listening. Good. I haven't lost you guys yet, all right? Keep it simple and have fun. There's one thing you should know when making any presentation, and I want you to read them, all right? It's 5 P's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 P's. Read them out for me. Yes. Proper planning and preparation prevents poor passive performance. And that is how you would succeed as presenters. That's how you would get the prizes. That's how you'd make it a successful presentation. That's where the student exercise comes in. So, in order to do any presentation, you must prepare. You must prepare for your presentation. So you have to do the necessary planning, you must do the necessary preparation. All right? And by doing that, you are going to prevent poor performance. Because on that day when you present before the judges, there's a preliminary.
Yes.
Right. You do not want to find yourself wanting or lacking. All right? So you must prepare. All right? Know your product. Know what you're selling. Know your apps. Know everything that needs to know about your presentations because they're going to ask you questions. And I'll give you some quotes later on to help you understand why it's important to know your presentations. All right? So, steps to success. Always start your presentation on time. A late presentation, you're already turning people off. They do not want to listen to you. So time management, paramount. All right? Your message. How could you speak about something that you don't know about? Can you speak about stuff you don't know about? No. Of course not. You can try. You can be a Toastmaster and try. But guess what? What makes you successful is by knowing product knowledge, knowing your product. All right? Know what you're presenting. All right? So the message is important. Select results and put them in order. Put them in an order that is chronological or one that is conducive for your presentation. All right? Your opening and introductions, they do everything. They say first impressions are lasting. So your opening must be impactful. You must want to have an attention-grabbing opening. One that would captivate your audience. One that would ensure that the judges give you the right score. Does that make sense? All right? Your conclusions and endings must also be, what do you say, on fleek? You would want to ensure that you get a conclusion that sums up everything you would have done in your presentation. So the way you end is just as important as your opening and your introduction. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now we come to my favorite, visual aids. And this is where a lot of people lose points or marks because of visual aids. What visual aids you use depend on the success of your presentation. All right? A visual aid does not necessarily mean a PowerPoint presentation. Everyone knows this, right? Please tell me you do.
Yeah.
Excellent. A visual aid does not necessarily mean a PowerPoint presentation. Can you read that for me?
There was that cheap and plenty enough, but ideas that rose and set multitudes thinking come out and roll from the mind. Be open.
That's deep, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gold. We're going for gold. Straight from the mind. All right? Presentations. The second one says, there is no such thing as presentation talent. It is called presentation skills. How do you earn a skill? You gotta practice. You gotta practice doing your presentations. Don't wait until the night before to say that you're going over your presentation. You should have a detailed outline of your entire presentation. It doesn't have to be verbatim, but you can actually have it in point form so that you can know exactly what to say, when to say it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right? They say public speaking is not a talent. It is a skill. And the skills you develop from being an eloquent public speaker, an orator, is going to set you on a path for life. All right? Everybody knows what Toastmasters is, right? The mission is to ensure that public speaking is a worldwide reality. We have a Toastmaster in green there. Wave your hand, Mr. All right. What makes excellent presentations? You got to know your audience. You got to know your target market in your case. What is your product? Or in your case, your applications or your ideas? Who is it targeting? So you must know your audience. You must have a target market. Make sense? If Bill Gates wasn't, let's use a different people. We always use Bill Gates. Let's use somebody local. If you don't know, I hope everybody knows Ralph. If you don't know who you're targeting, how do you expect to meet the demands of your clients? You must have a target market. All right? Your message is as important. You must tailor what you're saying to your audience and help them understand why you are presenting and what it is that you want to do to help you to reach your goal. At the end of your presentation, what do you want them to walk out of the room with? Does that make sense? So it's important to know your message. All right? Did you know that 41% of US employees would rather go to a dentist than to sit through a PowerPoint presentation? But did you know too that 70% of these same people say that presentation skills are critical to their success in their endeavors? 70%. There's 120 million people who use presentations in the business world. These people know their audience and they define their goals. When you set out to prepare your goals, you have to ensure that your goals are SMART. When you're making a presentation, set out SMART goals. And you do know the acronym for SMART by now, right? SMART goals. The S is for specific, all right? Measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-driven. In the specific aspect of it, let's say you're doing sales. You want to what? Say double sales. You want to double the sales of your product. Isn't that a specific goal? How is it measurable? If you say, I want to double sales by the end of the year, and what percentage is that? By what percentage? That makes it measurable. If you want to grow your product sales within the first 6 months of the year, isn't that time bound? Yeah? If you want to show 5 product benefits that aren't offered by your competitors in order to double sales, what is that? That's making it achievable. 5 products. What is the realistic part of it? You want to communicate about 5 awesome products and their features. Not 30, 5. 5 out of the 30 products you offer. All right? You're keeping it real. You're keeping it realistic. All right? So ensure that you set SMART goals. Why is it important to set SMART goals? Nobody knows why it's important to set SMART goals? What's the opposite of SMART? All right. The next point is to ensure that your slides are short and to the point. Each slide should only be about one key point. If you put too much information in one slide, it will become confusing to the viewer. Try to focus and put in one point and then some bullets to build on it. All right? And remember what I said. You don't even have to use PowerPoint presentations. All right? You know that. You can use pictures and visuals when they add to your presentation. Using a visual in your presentation helps to get your point across. All right? Remember, don't get lost. Your presentation, you are your presentation. All right? Your presentation isn't necessarily the PowerPoint. You are your presentation. If you don't learn anything else when you walk out this room today, know that you are your presentation. Does that make sense? This is why I told you in the start that it's important to know your product. Know what idea you're selling. All right? Because you are your presentation. All right? So, we already spoke about visual aids. Images are powerful. You have to show your ideas, not your slides. All right? Because you can show as many slides as you want. If you don't get your idea across, it'll be futile. All right? You should use bullet points rather than paragraphs in your presentation. When you use bullet points on your slide, it gives your audience key points from your presentation. It also gives you, as a presenter, speaking cues in case you lose your train of thought. Sometimes when we're presenting, we lose our train of thought, and the first thing we use are crutches or pause fillers and repetitions. You do not want to do that when you're presenting, because you might lose marks, or you might lose points from the judges just for doing that. All right? In Toastmasters, you're taught how to be tautological, where you express yourself in different ways using different words. All right? Not repeating yourself. You see, you can be tautological without using big words. It's not a big word, it's not a huge word. Logical, T-A-U-T. Never read your words, never read your slides word for word. You know, sometimes we come up here and as a presenter, we focus and we read our slides word for word. You should never do that, all right? You should know the material you're presenting and edify your audience, all right? So, if you don't remember anything I said before, try to remember this title when doing your presentation. So in your introduction, you tell them what you're going to tell them. You tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. It's a little mind-boggling, but digest. Does that make sense? Simply put, tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you told them. In terms of preparing your slides, you should always try to use tips like these. You don't want to use light background with light text, and the converse is true, vice versa. All right? Dark background, light text, dark background. All right? Make sense? Absolutely. You have so many texts to choose from, and sometimes we get caught up with all these fancy fonts and stuff. My advice to you is keep it simple and have fun. Keep it simple and have fun. Ah, somebody said it well there. Somebody repeat that?
Keep it simple, stupid.
Okay, keep it simple. Use your transitions, make sure that they're smooth and flowing. Read this quote for me. It's one of my favorite quotes.
Most
when you're doing a presentation, you should always have a backup. Sometimes we always have technical glitches, and I've seen it happen over and over every year. Sometimes you bring your own computer, and then you realize it's not reading the file. You should always have a backup. Always be prepared. Be a good scout. That's the motto, right? Be prepared. So always have your stuff backed up. Extra flash drive or something. Always be prepared. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Try to keep your presentations under 20 minutes. What's the time they have?
They have 7 minutes to present and 5 minutes for the round of questioning.
That's a lot. 7 minutes. A typical speech in Toastmasters is between 5 and 7 minutes. And you have 7 minutes to present. And how long is the questioning?
5 minutes.
A whole 5 minutes to ask you about everything that you presented before. They can ask you from start to end. A question for every paragraph. All right? Quality over quantity. Don't waste your audience time with fluff and nonsensical stuff. Use your slides for quality information and only use them to enhance your presentation. Less is more. The more words and fluff on a slide, the more chances your audience will get tuned out. All right? You don't want that. You want to keep them engaged and captivated. All right? And practice. Practice, practice, practice. Why it's important to practice? Preparation is the key to giving any effective presentation. So, like I told you before, if you write out an outline of your presentation, then you wouldn't be worried at all because you can use that to practice, practice, practice until the day of presentation. Never write it word for word. Write it out as bullets and use cue cards. You call them flashcards, and what do you call them? Yes, use those cards if you must, because using those cards, you get to digest them better, the ideas, and when you open your mouth, you'll be able to flow. Does that make sense? Learn from the best presenters. Who's the inventor of Apple? Steve Jobs. You guys know your stuff. He is one of the best presenters ever lived. He's a modern presenter, and he keeps his presentation simple. So if you want to have an iconic presenter, look for somebody out there and, learn from them. Enhance their presentation. I'm not saying to plagiarize or anything, but learn how to be better, all right? Make your conclusions actionable. Provide something at the end of your presentation that your audience can do immediately to take action. Your conclusion is the exclamation point at the end of your presentation. It's where you wrap up everything and bring everything together. What can your audience do when they walk out of the room? That they can put what they have learned into action is what you'd want to put into your conclusion. Can we have this quote? Stop. Can we have this quote read all together?
The very best presentation is one that's well thought out and anticipates any questions, answering them in advance.
And this is going to determine whether you win in this competition or lose. Because when you put together your projects or your presentations, you have to be able to think of all or any possible question you think the judges are going to ask you. And be prepared to answer it. In a competition like this, you don't want to be telling the judges, I'll get back to you. All right? So it's very, very important to start thinking of all the possible questions. This is why it's important to what? And know your product. Know your apps. Know your ideas. Know your material. Because if you don't know your material, you're going to lose out. All right? I'm a sucker for rhetorics. Rhetorical devices are the best way to sell your ideas. So I just want to leave this simple one. Nobody know? Nobody knows this one? Okay, you can read it and get to know it. Okay, we're not familiar with it. Try this one. You don't want to use rhetorical devices to keep your audience consoled, all right? You don't want to lose or get your audience angry, all right? Keep them consoled by giving them innovations that they could actually put into practice, all right? I have come to the end of my presentation, and I wish to leave this last one with you. Let's hear you read it. It's not in any, it's simple language.
Top presenters have total control of their affairs. They make their affairs slave, not the master.
All right? In Toastmasters, we do not help you to get rid of your fare, but we help to have those butterflies fly in formation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hazel. All right, I hope that you guys will listen very attentively. Please take these tips with you so you can prepare properly for your presentation as you go through the competition. I wish you all the best in the judging phase of the competition. You have about 2 weeks or at least 1 week, 8 to 9 days to get prepared. So I wish you the very best for the competition.